I have the 2020 entrepreneur, Thom Filicia, interior designer, TV personality, host, and two-time author, I think, maybe even three times since I last saw him. But Thom is, in my opinion, the quintessential entrepreneur and understands building a community through your own frequency. Welcome to the Playbook, Thom.
Well, thank you. I'm happy to be here. It's good to see you again. I had so much fun with you last time. I'm very excited to be back.
Yeah, I was just saying, it's the holidays coming up here, and you get really close, and you don't want to do anything that's activity you get paid for related. You're kind of halfway in, and I see you on my calendar, and I'm like, this is why I do what I do. And that passion is carried over by you, and when we get together, you can feel a lift in the energy of everyone that's around us. How have you been able to transition that internal love that you have for yourself? Into, your very first project? I don't think it was an accident how you actually got to try out even for Queer Eye for the Straight Guy, right? I think you were putting out like a beacon, a frequency of, hey, this is my frequency and I'm perfect. And then lo and behold, in the elevator, I think somebody's like, hey, you gotta try out for this.
That's what happened. I found, people always ask me, like, how did you end up working in television? And it really was a dog. His name was Paco, and he is no longer with us, unfortunately. But I found him in the Hamptons years ago in the winter and looked for his family, couldn't find them. And we ended up being partners in crime for many years. And he was awesome. And through that relationship, sort of saving him, he made me leave my office because he was needed to go to the bathroom one Friday afternoon. And I got stuck in an elevator, and then I got stuck in an elevator with a girl who was a sort of a casting director. And then there was a woman having a panic attack in the elevator who I then started making jokes about how my dog was going to pee and poop on her because he was dying to go out, and we have bigger problems, and just kind of sort of reposition sort of all of her fear and anxiety into being silly and ridiculous and having her play with the dog. And that's kind of how it happened. So I agree with you. I mean, I think that when you go out into the world as a young person, you're generally, I would say, you're very open. You're like this. Yeah. And as you get older, I think a lot of us sort of go like that. Yeah. And I just think that the more you stay like this, and you go out and you're open to people and ideas, and just you're kind of interested, and you're not just in your lane. You're kind of you're aware of what's going on and you're excited about what's going on. I just think it invites a lot of, first of all, you meet a lot of crazy people when you do that, but that's fun. And you have to make sure that you don't hang out with them too long. But there's a lot of really awesome and interesting people that you meet that you never would have. And that's how I think having that space for new ideas and new people, that's how things happen to you, I think. And,
I would just interrupt because that's such a big thing for me, keeping my options open. It's the opposite of what I tell my daughters, I won't keep the options open. But for me, money was such a conflictual thing for me. But the one really good thing about being hungry for money as a young man, as a kid, because I was so poor, was that I was so open because I was always just looking for what I could make more money at. So I didn't care what industry, who you were. I was always just like, oh, that looks good. Let me figure out how I could figure, to make more money at that. Okay, I can't. I'll move to something else. And I think that's been a huge asset as I'm in my 50s now. That I've kept my options open because I was looking for the receiving side so I could give. For you, where was the paradigm shift of understanding the openness?
Well, it's so interesting what you were just saying. And it's fascinating to me because I was originally, my program, or the way my brain worked, was that I was very focused on design. I was very focused on architecture and design and furniture and all of these things that I was interested in. That's what I really followed. And I never really thought about how I would monetize it. I never did. I just was really excited about it. And I think that I followed this kind of I'm going to study this. I'm going to go to college. I'm going to get a degree. I'm going to work for a firm. And I did all of those things. And it wasn't until like I was actually working in the business of design that I started looking around and realizing what the business model was. And it felt a little bit outdated to me. It was built on a foundation of, it was built on a thing where it was years, in the beginning, it was like, friends of a friend, it was very wealthy people. And then there was a woman or a man who was involved in that group would end up getting hired to like do your home, or it was very much built on that kind of thing. And it was at a moment where I could see through television and just through the world of design starting to get bigger and grow. And I saw what was happening with chefs, and I saw what was happening with just, other industries that were also creative. Yeah, things started to change. More people were interested in design. More people understood. They wanted to, everyone wanted that experience, and I started to understand that design started to become a bigger role. And I was really excited about having to be a part of the modernization. And I used to call it the democracy of design, the idea of bringing design not just to that 1%, but to a lot of people and to that one group. But, it was like almost using the automobile model. It was like when I was a kid, Mercedes made like 3 cars, and now they make 300, I think. But, and they're from every price point. So I think everyone started to realize that, that there was value in having sort of a multi, it's like Calvin Klein and CK. I mean, you started to see it in fashion. And I just was like, wow, this is cool. Like things are starting to become a little bit more for everybody. It was good ideas, great design. Lifestyle was not just for people who could afford a fabulous lifestyle. It was for everybody to kind of tap in at whatever their price point was and whatever their level was that they were at that juncture. So I just was really excited about being a part of that in an industry that was ready for that kind of modernization. And I just thought, wow, what an interesting way to have more than one way to approach this business model. So having furniture that's accessible more for other designers and people to go out and buy, and then also being on television where I had the ability to connect with people that that might not know who I am because they don't read those magazines and they're not looking to hire a designer. So I really was excited about having, product in the world that people had ability to access. I was excited about having a showroom because that's another way to sort of be a part of the community of design and be in the sort of that business world. Also then having my private design firm where we do, private commissions, and we have designers and architects. And so I kind of broke it up into sort of 4 things. And I have to say, what I've really enjoyed about this experience is that I think that the business of design is something that for me that's been a really interesting and wonderful part of this sort of chapter of my career, because I'm enjoying really sort of understanding how to make it sort of a more modern, updated kind of business. And it's been fun. And it's like, I don't see it as we're still in our development of that. So it's exciting.
What's exciting too for me is I look through from the first book you co-authored to the 2 other books. They're really about what is my definition of happiness, enjoying. And you said that like 6 times, by the way, which is why I love you, right? Enjoying the consistent, everyday, persistent, without quit pursuit of your potential. And, your first book, Better Looking, Better Cooking, Better Dressing, Better Behaving, and Better Living, it was all about just getting better, not better than anyone else, but better within ourselves. And as you discuss the community relative to the enjoyment of that process, what's so interesting is you have, like me, a very eclectic community and all, I have a sports community, an entertainment community, a business community, entrepreneur, and you have the exact same that you're working within. But I think people don't understand what you do to attract such different communities and big communities, because I think people's perception is, oh, Thom must be trying to please each of these 4 different communities. He's taking on a role like he did on, Queer Eye for the Straight Guy.
Right,
This is a persona, a brand. But what I see from you is you're constantly working within to get better, and more communities are attracted to what you do in the context of your niche.
I would say, to me, it's energy. I think if you have a lot of great positive energy, I think that it's sort of things sort of, kind of organically kind of sort of happen, or possibilities happen. Whether you choose to embark on those possibilities is one thing, but they're there as a potential or as an opportunity. But I would say one of the things that was really important to us when we were doing Queer Eye years ago, and I think it has really stuck with me, was that we never called it a makeover. We called it a make better. And the idea was that every interior that I did on that show, in which we had limited time and limited money, and there was a lot going on, was really about tapping into who that person was and what made them tick and how to make them a better version of who they were, not just a different person, or to have what I want, or to give them what I think is what I would want to have in that situation. It was really about tapping into who they were. So it was much more tailored to the person. And I even think that when you were talking about the 2 books, my second book, American Beauty, was really about, that story is about, and I'm actually in that house right now. But that was about my lake house, my country house outside of New York. That was where I grew up. So it's kind of like going back to the area where you're from, being connected to that. Also taking something, it was like an old house that was, probably, someone would have knocked it down just for the land. And I decided to, renovate it and keep it and celebrate, make it relevant again. It was sort of like the ugly duckling, and then, and I think that it was also about sort of my product, using my product in my own environment and sort of practicing what I preach. And so it was a little bit of renovation. It was a little bit of going home. It was a little bit of, this kind of story of living with what you design and sort of, not just making product and pushing it. It's really like living that lifestyle and saying, this is what I do, and it's available for you as well. So I think that was really what that second book was about. But I really stayed. Yeah, I feel like that's kind of my path in design, is that I really do feel like I sort of, the lifestyle that I'm kind of promoting is more about being your best you, living your life, using these things to sort of make your Saturday afternoon, your Tuesday morning better. And it being a thing that's sort of, it is I look at it as like, it tells your story. When people come into your environment, it's really interesting. I love going into people's environments and sort of seeing whether they're family photos or the books they choose or the art or the way they put things together. And when it's thoughtfully done, there's a lot of information there. And it's a little bit for me like watching a movie. Like when I watch The Crown, I don't even know what's happening because I can't stop looking at the sets. You know what I mean? There's so much information, there's like a tipped over lampshade and everyone's like, I didn't even notice that. I'm like, what? But, so it's really interesting to me. But I do think that, when you go into someone's home and it's been thoughtfully sort of put together and it's, it represents kind of where they're from, where they are and where they're going. It's like watching a movie to me, and it's really fun to sort of take all that in. And a lot of times, it happens subliminally, I think, when you go into a fabulously designed restaurant and, it's just like, it feels really good. It's comfortable. It smells good. It looks good. The sound is good. And then you go into another restaurant where the food is delicious, but the space is really like awkward and weird and it doesn't work and it's uncomfortable. It's a different experience. And so I think we've all learned a lot about through television and media and magazines and lifestyle has just become something much stronger than it used to be. And then a pandemic hits and we're all in our houses and our houses become the gym, school, the office, the theater, the restaurant, all of those experiences that we look
studio.
for.
Don't forget the studio.
Yeah, right. Yeah, and the panic room, which now the panic room is just a room for parents to go into
Right.
every time they find out school is canceled.
Oh my God, my two of them just came up in college. I need a panic room in here. Just also
It used to be for burglars. Now it's just for family members.
for parents, exactly, hiding out. One of the other interesting things is, much younger now. This generation is the first generation that's born into brand. Every little kid has their own brand, and it's going to continually to accelerate. Aesthetically, I love to empower people about you can't find outside of you what you can't find inside. But I think you bring a different nuance to dressing well, to design of your home as a reflection. And that, we need to take pride in our reflection as much as we do of our internal selves as well. What kind of work do you do to, reconcile the, exterior design and aesthetics that you're an expert at and you have such passion for with what it's representing as a reflection of self?
I mean, I would say, I think the way to, really sort of, I think the journey that allows you to really understand that better is going back to what we were talking about earlier. It's about staying open and listening and connecting with people, and asking questions and being interested, but like not in a formulaic way, but in like an authentic way, really enjoying people. I think part of what has made the journey for me in terms of what I do is that I actually really enjoy people and I have a lot of fun with people, and I'm interested in an assortment of different styles and approaches. So I enjoy that information. And so I think through that, you learn about just sort of what makes people tick. I mean, I always say, when I travel, wherever I am internationally or within the wherever, it's great to see the museums. It's great to go and see the restaurants. It's great to see the culture of that area and the architecture and all of those things. But it's also really good to go and sit at a cafe or a bar, a honky tonk bar, whatever, and just meet like everybody from like the mayor to like, the girl who served lunch to you, and have conversations and really just understand what makes people tick, because I think it's really interesting. And you learn a lot about yourself. You learn a lot about the kind of the world around you. And I think when you're designing, and design is for people, I think the more connected you are to reality, it's like you're not just stuck in your bubble. It's so easy for all of us to kind of get into like that gerbil wheel that wherever we are, whatever we do, and from the high end to middle to entry level, we all get stuck in our bubbles, and everything, you just don't know that much about anything else. So I think it's really fun to just always have, be, in and out of your bubble, just like, and overlapping with other people and connecting and communicating, I think is really how you kind of stay, open to all of that. And that's how that's where I think you're informed. To me, that's what has been really helpful for me. And then I think the other thing is, having a little bit of, space and free time. And a lot of it is I have a house outside of the city, and I drive up to my house with my two dogs, and it's a 4-hour drive. And that 4 hours, I listen to music, maybe, or in the beginning I do like office calls. Then I listen to nothing and I just think, and it's like a therapy session with yourself, and it's awesome. And then the last part of it, I listen to music or the news, and then I start calling people that I'm going to be here. So let's get together. But that 2 hours in the middle is really like, it's just nice to have that space where you can sort of think. I never really understood that when I was younger, having, that sort of time, in that space.
Just real quick question. What's the easiest or fastest or best advice you could give to feel better by doing something external? So it could be your clothing, a design, something. What's a fast, quick fix if you're in a funk energetically, and is there something you can do that just makes yourself feel better externally?
I would say, the first thing I would do is I would say, stop looking in the mirror. Stop looking in the mirror. I would say two things. I would say first, you have to say something like this to yourself, which I kind of the mantra I live by, where is I take what I do and who I am seriously. I take what I do seriously, but I don't take myself seriously. And that's, I think, really important, fundamental step. Stop looking in the mirror and stop looking around you for happiness. Stop looking for a person or a home or a job to make you happy. You just have to have fun. You have to enjoy yourself, and you have to have fun and kind of enjoy, you know what I mean? You have to be, you have to be happy to find happiness. So happiness is not a thing that's somewhere in the neighborhood. You've got to really, you've got to start with, you have to project that, and it will, and then that's the environment you live in. So I don't know. I mean, I would say the physical part of it, I would say do yourself a favor and release that being the thing that gives you happiness. It's like, look a little bit further inward, and find the thing that you can't see that makes you happy. Because I think just having that exercise of not putting the value on the physical, is going to be, I always have to say, I think the most attractive people, and they come in all shapes and sizes, and, in every, they all shapes and sizes. The most attractive people are people who are comfortable in their skin. And I will tell you, there could be a model, a woman or a man, and they could be standing next to another woman or man who would ever be asked to model anything. And the other person was comfortable in their skin, and they know how to enjoy themselves and people around them. 9 out of 10 times, myself and most other people find those people more attractive.
That's what they said when I was standing next to Tom Cruise. So I give it to
I do. I think being comfortable in your skin is the secret to success, both professionally, socially. You can, when you meet somebody at a cocktail party or at an event or at a work environment, and they really are like comfortable in their skin, not conceited or arrogant, down to earth, real, and know how to enjoy themselves, enjoy the process. I think that's sort of a winning combination.
Well, you're a winning combination for me. I have so much fun in this. My girls are like dying for me to do my send off that they created. So I'm going to do this, and I apologize to all the listeners, but I had to do it. I've had so much fun here with Entrepreneurs, the Playbook. Tom, we have to say though, we're sad. It's time to say bye-bye, Thom Filicia. Dave Meltzer here with Thom Filicia. Entrepreneurs, the Playbook with the incredible Thom Filicia. Thank you so much.